Hey friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. Today we are going to have some fun in the garden because we get to do fall cleanup. I think I enjoy fall cleanup just as much as I do spring planting. It's just very therapeutic for me to get things neat and tidy and all cleaned up. We are going to be spending time here in our little shade garden that is just right between the house and the driveway. This area just runs the length of our kitchen, so I look out at it, I see it every time we drive up or come to the house. We see this area. We got 2 nights of freezing temperatures last week, and then we've had several frost. So a lot of my annuals are toasted. They are gone. Interestingly enough, a lot of my perennials still look pretty decent. Like my hostas, I mean, yes, they show the wear and tear of being at the end of October, but they have not, don't have any burn damage from the freeze. So those we're gonna leave alone. So basically I'm gonna walk you through this flower bed and just kind of show you, explain my thoughts on how I began to prepare my beds for fall and winter. That way we'll be off to a great start come spring. So we're gonna begin the fall cleanup in this flower bed. This will not be the be all end all for this flower bed for this season. So we will just begin the process today. Another fun thing I'm going to share with you is that this weekend we had a new little addition to the old Creekside family. This is I have dubbed him Johnny, and so Johnny joined us on Friday. You know that because if you've watched our videos for any length of time, that of course not only are we home gardeners, but we own Creekside Nursery. So we are a grower retailer. We, produce annuals, perennials, and shrubs. Lots of things are going on, and we are growing as a business and as a company. So all good things. We started with our first little RTV type vehicle when, gosh, that would have been like 8 years ago. That was with the Kubota. We have and I'm not exaggerating. I'll have to go back and, well, I can't look because it's in the shop right now. That's a whole nother story. But it's we have 5,000 miles on that machine, and that is just from running around the property. And then a year ago, we got Jerry. We got a Polaris just because the more employees we have, the more production we have going on. We need machines that can, zip from here to there and pull wagons and just in the whole production area. And then we have just grown by so much and have employees here basically constantly that we got this time we went and got a John Deere. This is a Gator. This is going to be though a little bit more for Jenny's use because the Kubota is for all the employees to use. The Polaris is Jerry's kind of main go-to around, and then Johnny here is going to be my main one because I was finding that I was trying to garden and do videos and things and I didn't have a machine. So you will see Johnny in the videos. So just wanted to give you a heads up. We got it from our local John Deere dealer, James River. Cliff took excellent care of us. So we got it from there, and we were very blessed in the fact of someone else had ordered this, however many months ago it came in, and then he had changed his mind. Jerry just happened to call at the perfect time, and Cliff said, "Hey, I got one here waiting on you." So we were able to grab it right away from the dealership. We did not have to order or wait on it. It was kind of a surprise for me. We've been talking about it obviously for a long time, but as far as the timing, it was a surprise for me. So yeah, so Johnny is now part of the Creekside family. Now let's talk about what exactly we are going to do today and give you kind of an overview. We are in the shade, but I am going to be kind of battling the sun as well, just to kind of give you a heads up. So this flower bed is one of my favorite flower beds because it is, I've gardened this bed since we moved in almost 19 years ago. It has a ton of perennials in here, and as my perennials are growing, of course my room for my annuals is shrinking, which is great. This whole area is doing great. Now I know that these hostas are not like in primo condition, but they are certainly not where I am going to go ahead and cut them to the ground. I will wait until the freeze actually does get them, and because hostas will basically just kind of melt. Once that freeze hits them, they just become mush and melt to the ground, and it's super easy to get in there and pull them out. My Diamond Snow Euphorbia is still doing awesome. We're gonna let that rock on out. We're gonna take care of this sad, pathetic, pitiful little container right there, get it cleaned up. I am probably about the only perennial that I'm gonna cut back is my Sun King. I actually have 2 of them in here. And you can just tell it is just sad. It is time for it to go to bed. So I will cut that to the ground. I will show you this whole process. My Terenia, you can see this was white linen. It got fried. So the tips are nice and mushy. So we're gonna pull all that out. And then the other annuals, the vast majority of them are down here. So we will go ahead and get the Sun Patience that you can see. They are mush, they're coming out. The Endless Illumination Broalia, the tops have just been fried. Down here was a little bit more protected, but I'm gonna go ahead and pull all of that out. Lamian, this beautiful variegated low growing is a perennial, so we will just clean that up, leave that there. Yeah, and then there's some caladiums that just look pitiful, take those out, and the white linen down there as well. If we have time today, I would like to show you how I am going to thin out this Solomon seal. The fall is one of the absolute most perfect times for going to go ahead and dividing your perennials. So if you do need to divide your hostas or you want to move them, your Solomon seal, any kind of perennial, for the most part, fall is a great time to do that. So the Solomon seal has been very, very happy here. It has naturalized wonderfully, but I do need to thin it out. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. Hopefully we will have time to do that today. If not today, we will do that on another video. But I'm going to get everything set up and then just kind of walk you through one last time and show you, well, you know what, I'm gonna get everything set up and I'm gonna pull out those annuals that just look terrible, the ones we've talked about. It is also yellow jacket season, so if you see me swatting things, the yellow jackets are, they're giving it one good fight before the last freeze comes. So I'm gonna pull all these annuals out, then I'm gonna come back and I'll show you how I take care of my perennials. Okay, my friends, so I have gotten all of the spent annuals are out, and so already making lots of progress on the cleanliness and the tidiness standpoint of it. Now what we're really going to do is I'm going to show you how I'm going to go ahead and start dealing with some of my perennials. The two main ones that I am going to do right now are the Sun King and then Lenten Roses, hellebores. I'm going to show you how easy it is to tidy up those hellebores. Great time of year to do it because they're going to be getting ready to bloom here in the next couple of, well, it depends on where you are, weeks, months. Last year I had a hellebore that was blooming its little head off in November. So what we're gonna first start with here is the Sun Kings. You will see I actually have two of them planted, right? We have one and we have two because I wanted it to really fill in this area and look like one massive plant. This time of year, of course, you can see that it only looks like one plant. But during the spring and summer, it does just have massive interest and substance in this bed. Looks great. And then really I have my 2 Lenten roses. There is one here, and then there is one off to the side. So let me just show you exactly how we are going to handle both of these perennials. Okay, my friends, so here we are ready to prune back these Sun Kings, and basically I'm just gonna take them straight to the ground. That is all that I need to do with these, because just like so many other perennials, they will come back with brand new foliage each year. Once we do get a really hard freeze, these will just melt. So it's easier for me to get in here and cut the stems while they're still nice and firm, instead of when they're all smushy. So it's really easy to do. I mean, it's just literally take your clippers and just go down there and cut down to the bottom. I want to talk about too, before we cut down the Sun Kings, I've had quite a few people who maybe you're new or you just haven't seen me talk about it, but my garden belt, I've had a lot of questions here lately about it. I love this thing. Jerry found it for me online from an Etsy store. It's Wheeler Monroe, and if you look on any of our video descriptions, like you pull down the whole video description, I have the direct link for the garden belt. But Wheeler Monroe, it is a family company, small business, actually here in North Carolina, the mountains of North Carolina, a husband-wife team, and they make these leather garden belts, and there's a whole like slew of them that you can choose from. You just go to their website. You can, then that will take you to their Etsy site when you're ready to order. You measure, your waist, so that way it fits correctly. You can do it on the right, you could do it on the left. Mine has, I'm like a walking toolbox. There's a spot for my hoary to go in. I have 2 different little pockets for my Felcos. So I have my 2 Felcos. I have my number 2s, which I use the vast majority of the time. And then my 322s, which are like little snips. So those all go down in there. Normally I have my phone in this pocket right here, but we just had lunch and I decided I didn't want to have to bother with my phone, so I left it in the house. But my phone fits in there quite nicely. I have a garden pen in there, my gloves when I'm not using my gloves. Even with my phone, it will stuff down in there quite nicely. And then I have like my little box cutter, my knife. So if I need to, cut something or rip something open, there you go. And it does have like a little key ring on the front. So if you have your, your car keys you want to click on there, I click on Brenna's training clicker. So her little clicker, sometimes you'll see that on there. That's for training purposes. So that is on there. Most comfortable thing ever. And I will say, I just love these things, so I'm sharing it with you. There's no benefit to me whatsoever, like if they sell these or not. They're just great products, and the leather is so extremely soft. Very comfortable, does not pull your britches down, does not feel like you're lopsided. Very, very comfortable way to carry all of your garden tools. So if you're interested, check them out, Wheeler Monroe. And yeah, so that was my little informational session here on the Vanna White of gardening right there. All right, we're gonna get these trimmed down. All right, so as easy as that, right? That's about the easiest garden maintenance you'll do. Just cut it to the ground, clean it up, and your little faithful furry friend right beside of you eating bugs as they fly by. A great little fake out that I'm going to do, because my 2 hay racks, my window boxes, whatever you want to call them, here they're naturally shade containers in the spring and summer. But in the winter, they're especially very shady. I have tried before to grow like pansies or violas. it just does not work because there's not enough sun at all. So what I'm going to do to get me through the fall is to fake it out. My soil is still in the containers. That way it'll be a great little holder for my mums that I'm going to leave in the pots. And I'm simply just going to come up here, and the hole is already there because I may or may not have already had one mum in here. And I just come in, snuggle it down. I'm very simplistic, and I'm a minimalist during the fall for containers, and so we're just going to do that. And there you go, boom, nice little pop of color. I've got some other yellow ones that we're going to go do on the other hay rack here in a minute. But now that the Sun King is done, I want to show you how to prune back your hellebore, because now is a great time to do it. Super easy, but there are just a couple of things you need to know so that you don't cut off your future blooms. So let me show you how to do that real quick. Okay, so I have intentionally set the camera up to really be zoomed in on this Lenten rose. This Lenten rose, you can see, is leaning more towards this direction because the Sun King was covering it up. Now, what we want to do is we want to come in and get all of this old foliage, right? It's the foliage that's laying down. It's ratty, it's tatty. Some of it's actually brown, and you're going to come in and you're going to clip this outer foliage that's really laying down, and we're going to cut it out. If we've got really nice, pretty green foliage, then we're gonna leave that. All of this right here is new foliage. I do not want to cut that. I just want to remove the stuff that is really, like, you can obviously tell, right? Like, for example, let me show you this one, right? Look at that. I do not want to leave that on the plant. It's turning brown. It's just old. This is an old growth and it needs to be cleaned up. So we're going to get rid of that, and things like you can just tell, just pick it up, and if it's fresh and clean looking, then you keep it. If it's old and yucky, then we're going to come in here and snip it off. I see new growth. I actually see one of my very first little buds coming out. So basically, when you're done with this, you're just going to have a small little mound. You would be amazed at the amount of growth that is going to happen here in the coming weeks and months. So this is getting taken out. It's brown, it's got some holes in it, and we're going to take it out. So I'm just going to clean this one up, and then I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. Okay, so this first hellebore has been cleaned up. You can see there's a drastic difference. You're like, oh my gosh, Jenny, there's nothing left. Well, no, there is. There's good stuff left, and it will grow back and be just very happy. I've got two little flower buds. I've got one right here, and then can you see that little peak of white coming out? There's another one. And this is, I have my tag, this is mahogany snow. What I probably need to do is think about actually moving this, because as that Sun King gets bigger, it's only going to move this guy out. So maybe I need to grab this, and even if I just move it forward some, that might be a good idea. But for now, I'm going to leave it alone and let it just be happy. Then coming over here next door, this is a big, huge, giant one. We're going to do the same thing and get it all cleaned up as well. All right, so both of the hellebores have been cut back, They have new growth coming out from the bottom of them. I only saw the buds on the first one. I did not see any flower buds on the second one, but no fret, my pet. I know that they are going to just be glorious and beautiful come gosh, a couple of months, probably won't be long. And so they will be great. That's what we love about Lenten roses, is that when nothing else in your garden is blooming, those sweet things are just putting on quite the show. And they're fantastic perennials. Now, I want to go through and just kind of show you what my thought process is on things that I will and will not do in the garden. So here we have, I might even go grab another mum and pop it in the top of this little blue container right there. But it's really, really simple. Once we get that hard freeze, of course, you can see that these two golden tiaras right here are already starting to turn yellow. Once we get that hard freeze, all of my hostas will just melt, and so they will be really easy to take out, as will my euphorbia. So that will all come out. The debris. Now, of course, the hostas are perennials, so even though there's no foliage and it looks like the plants are not there, the root system is. This is what I affectionately call Annette's holly fern, because my sweet friend Annette, who lives in Waco, Texas, this came from her yard. It is just a traditional holly fern. I have dubbed it Annette's holly fern for sure. Now, I have 3 hydrangeas in this flower bed. All of them bloom on old growth, meaning I am not going to touch them whatsoever. This is the zebra hydrangea that has beautiful pure white blooms with black stalks, so I will leave it completely alone. As far as all of my eucharis go, which are the lovely kind of the burgundy plants here, they are evergreen, so we will leave those alone. The fern will die back completely. Pulmonaria right here, these are 2 spot-ons. They mostly will be an evergreen, kind of what I call a semi-evergreen, so they probably won't disappear. So I just leave those alone. Come early spring, I clean up the foliage, and that is it. And then further on down the bed, this is Diva, Let's Dance Diva from Proven Winners. She is a beautiful lace cap, blooms on old growth. We leave her alone. And then down on kind of centered on the porch here, we have Let's Dance Starlight. So she too is a lace cap from Proven Winners, blooms on old growth, and we leave those alone. What we are going to do now is get everything set up, and we are going to go ahead and thin out this what is this called? This is called Solomon Seal. It is a fantastic perennial that just naturalizes really well, but you can see it's gotten a little too friendly with this ghost fern. It is coming inside of this euchera. It is all up in the boxwoods back there and really starting to kind of crowd out the hydrangea over here. So we are going to go ahead and pull these out, not all of them. We're simply going to thin them out as over here. Really getting in too much with the euchera, same thing with the hydrangea. We want these babies to really kind of like spread out and have lots of room to grow. I want my Solomon Seal to be more in this area. So we are going to get everything set up and get those lifted out so that we can, actually we're going to have these for sale at the nursery. The Solomon Seal has proven to be kind of hard for us to get as plants to sell for our customers. It's a common plant, but it's been really hard for us to get them. It is a non-branded plant, so that means it is not patented, so we can propagate them just like what we're doing here, pot them up, and then have them for sale at the nursery. So if you were one of those people that have been wanting some Solomon Seal that come to Creekside, we will have them for you in the spring. It will be limited availability because of what we have. We had them on order, and then that order got canceled because there was a crop issue with that. So it is what it is, but we're certainly gonna get as many little plants as we can out of these 2 little patches. Alrighty, so I've done a little test dig to see how this was gonna go. I'm using, I don't even know what you would call this. It's not a pitchfork because it's not all the way tall, but it has some nice, really sturdy tines to it because the roots on a Solomon seal are very shallow, very much kind of like an iris. So they spread by rhizomes, not quite on the top of the ground, but very close. So I was in here kind of digging around, and let me see if I can get up a clump for you because I want to show you how this works. This one, let's see here, is getting a little too friendly with the euchre, and I want to get that out. These are not invasive at all. There we go. But you know, they've been here, gosh, probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, if not more. So let me show you, shake off a little soil here, what a Solomon seal looks like. Okay, so here we go. So this is what obviously you see, you know, the top foliage, right? And then these little guys right here are the new growth that's gonna pop up come springtime. So this is where it spreads. There is on the underside of that, if you can see, this is the rhizome. So this is where it's spreading and the new growth is gonna pop up. Basically what I can do is take this and plop it anywhere. So if I want to put it in the landscape somewhere, I can just bury it just like this, not too deep, just put it back where the soil goes. But what we're going to do is be putting them in pots. So I'm going to put it in a nursery pot with potting soil and just cover just the tip top where the natural soil would have been, and then just let it sit out over winter, and there you go. So come spring, all of this is going to pop up and be a nice full pot. There's a ton of them in there, so it's going to be a process of getting them all out for sure. Let me show you though, I think a rhizome that's not going to be very good. So this one I found, and it's not to say if I were putting these in the landscape, like I would just go ahead and throw that in the ground. But I don't see any eyes coming off of here. This obviously was an older stem. So if you see something like that and you've got a ton of them, then you know, maybe don't worry and spend your time on this guy. I'm not going to put this in a pot because I'm not sure that it's really going to produce any new growth on it. I'm going to focus on the ones that are nice and healthy and have those really pretty eyes. right, my friends, so we have got the Solomon seal divided out, thinned out some. We are gonna have a ton of it. Let me show you. The back of Johnny is all full of just a lot of Solomon seal. And that is the beautiful thing about Solomon seal, is if you have a friend who has a patch, odds are they are ready to like share some with you, because really all you need is one of these clumps right here, like one or two of these clumps in a little section, and they are just going to take off. Because can you see all those little eyes popping up? That's what we call the white that's going to come up right here. They are everywhere, and we're going to have a ton of Solomon seal, so yay for that. But you can see as we spin ever so slowly, look at the trees, aren't they pretty? Ah, the maples. But as we come back around here and focus on what we should be talking about is, and Jerry was able to come over here and help me some, and he really worked on this area and got this all cleaned out around here. Like this entire area right there was full of the Solomon seal. So that's been thinned out. And then look at the poor hydrangea. Like you can really tell that the Solomon seal was blocking out all of that good sun, because look, there's no really tall growth right here. There's a lot of good growth. So next year we'll have lots of good growth right there. And then as you come on down to the other side, it's kind of that exact same thing right there up against the hydrangea. I mean, they went all the way back, and odds are I probably still have a couple little sprigs in there, but you know, that's not that big of a deal. Got them all the way cleaned out here in front or behind the euchre, all the way around and into this one, because they went all the way back this way. So got them really nice and thinned and cleaned out. And you can see just, you know, those little bright yellow pops. Of course, this is the color that they are due to those freezing temperatures. Normally they are a beautiful variegated white and green, and in the spring they do the sweetest little bell-shaped pure white blooms on the underneath side of the branches, and they have that natural arch to them. As soon as a hard freeze comes and really gets the foliage of this, all of that foliage will die to the ground. So in the wintertime, it looks like there's nothing here. And so they just, and some of them were already doing it, they just pop right off. So this is something that if you're gonna divide it, now is the time to do it, because it's got plenty of time. If you make it look kind of ugly for right now, it's not that big of a deal, because, you know, when a freeze comes, it's all going to go away anyway. And then you're not damaging any of your new foliage, versus if you did this in the spring and if we were snapping off eyes and new foliage, it may not look as good that growing season. So now is the perfect time to do it. But man, so the whole bed as a whole looks so much nicer, nice and clean and thinned out. There's old sweet thing over there. But again, it's not the final what we're going to do in here, but overall it's a lot less cluttered, it's a lot less messy looking, in my opinion. Jerry even raked the grass for me and got the leaves up, because this side of the house does collect leaves as they blow. But just looks so much better, so much tidier, makes me happy. So when we come through and drive through, walk through, it's not one of those that's like, drives me crazy. The next area that we're gonna focus on, not today, we're done for today, but I'll show you the camera, I'll flip her around, is the cottage garden. So just right on the other side of the driveway, you see the cottage garden, and it is a hot mess. There's a lot of annuals over there, coleuses that got completely fried. So we're gonna get in there and clean it up, get those garden boxes cleaned up. Jackson and my mom went ahead and mulched some leaves. So that is what the black tubs are. They are full of beautiful leaf litter that we can put on top of the garden boxes. But we are gonna leave that for another day, because today we are done. It is afternoon coffee time. Jerry and I have an appointment this afternoon. So it was a very productive afternoon. Look at those beautiful leaves, colors, blue sky. It's a great time to be in North Carolina, friends. As always, thanks so much for gardening with Creekside. Y'all have a great day. See you in the next video. Bye, friends.